Okay, hello everyone. This is American Space Dushanbe. We are continuing doing sessions within the International Education Week, and right now we are starting our session on essay writing tips with Linda Chu, who was English Language Fellow in Tajikistan in 2019. Hello, Linda. It's really great to see you. We can't wait to start this presentation.
Well, thank you so much for the lovely introduction, Nilufar. I'm very, very happy to be here with all of you. I spent a wonderful time in Tajikistan when I was an English language fellow. And the things I have to say that I miss most are my friends, and I miss the mountains, and I miss Kuruchal. So I am sitting here in my home in Tucson, Arizona, and it makes it truly an international world that we are here together, you know, and I'm here in Arizona and you're in Dushanbe, the other side of the world, but here we are internationally all together. So, all right, so
while Linda, you are sharing your screen, I would like to mention to our viewers that you can comment or leave your questions in the comment section below. I'll be moderating this session and ask if you're interested to know anything about essay writing and address your questions to Linda throughout this session. So please, Linda, you can start.
Thank you. I'm going to give me one moment to share my slide and we'll begin.
And one more reminder, in case if dear viewers, you missed any of the sessions from International Education Week, you can check US Embassy Dushanbe's YouTube channel. We uploaded all the videos there so you could have access to them.
Okay, are you able to see the slides?
Yes.
Yes, okay, perfect. So, writing tips. Let me tell you, first of all, I am not an expert in writing, although I have many, many years of experience teaching English as a second language, English as a foreign language. And so over the years, I have gathered some ideas and some tips and things that will help students, and hopefully you will enjoy this presentation. So here's the agenda. We're going to talk a little bit about brainstorming and free writing, some things to get your ideas out of your head. It's like pouring from a teapot and the tea comes out. And so you are pouring your ideas out of your head at this point before you begin to write. Then we'll talk about organization, thesis statements, introduction, body, conclusion, and you're writing your draft, transition words. I'll give you one very short sample essay. We'll talk just a few minutes about editing and revising. And then university applications specifically. I found some interesting comments from deans of different universities here in the US with their ideas about what makes a successful application. And I know you've had other talks about this, but this one's specifically toward the writing. So a few tips, and then we'll have time for questions. Is this you? So oftentimes when we are asked to write something, you have a piece of paper, or these days more likely you're in front of your monitor screen and you have a blank screen, nothing there. And so what do you do? How do you get started writing, especially, excuse me, especially in another language? It makes it even more difficult, right? So who's your audience? We must think about who we're writing for. If we're writing an email to a friend, we're going to have quite a different register and different approach than if we're writing something formally for an essay for a university application or even for a class that you're taking. So one of the first things is brainstorming. Brainstorming, you've probably heard of. No wrong ideas at this point. At this point, it's just whatever you can get out of your head on your topic. So once you decide kind of the direction of where you want to go with your writing, what topic you have, just take the time to get your ideas out. Don't worry about spelling, grammar, anything like that. Just put it all on your paper. It can look a complete mess. That's okay. That's what it's supposed to look like at this point. And if you have words in English, that's fine. If you have words even in your own language, that's fine too, because sometimes that's what it takes to get the ideas flowing and the ideas out. You can worry about what it looks like later. So before you're even attempting to write anything, get all of those ideas out of your head. Free writing. Free writing, you're taking your pen to your paper and you don't stop writing for about 5 minutes. It's harder than it sounds. So you can write anything. It's another form of brainstorming. However, this time it's a little bit more in a prose style and sentence form. So write anything that comes to mind on your topic. And if you can't think of anything to say, you can even write, I cannot think of anything else to say. Don't worry about spelling and grammar. Once again, this is just to get your ideas flowing and your ideas out. Next, you're going to try to organize your ideas. There are many different ways of organization. You can use idea maps and diagrams and outlines. And so here's one example. It looks quite messy, but that's okay. That's the way at this point, once again, you're trying to see what is your topic. In this case, the very top is values. This looks like it came from an organization. And I like the idea of using Post-it notes also, because then you can move your ideas around and you can categorize them, which is what they've done here. So most likely once you categorize, then that's starting to form your body of your essay, right? Because you're looking at what ideas are going to go together. In this case, happy customers, honest and fair team, positive impact. And so you can start thinking about either combining some or having individual shorter paragraphs on these topics. The same thing, putting your topic in the middle, and then you're going outward. So where it says tools and process and uses and definition, probably those would be your paragraphs. And then beyond that, what does that entail? So your examples of those things. And use what works for you. So this one is very typical. You've probably seen something like this before, because we, in the university, in colleges, we talk about the 5-paragraph essay a lot, which is basically your introduction, which includes your thesis, your body paragraphs, which can be 1, 2, usually 3, maybe longer, and then your conclusion. So brainstorming gives you your ideas. Free writing can help you to clarify, and outlining gives you a little bit of direction. All of these things before you actually write your essay help you when you start to write and you won't have that blank page in front of you. Your thesis statement is going to express your main ideas of your paper. It's like your controlling idea, your guiding theme. Usually that comes at the last sentence of the first paragraph, but it doesn't have to. It can appear in many places, and sometimes not even the first paragraph, but almost always at least in the first page if it's a longer essay. It should express your opinion, an idea, a belief. It should be something that you can argue and not just a fact. For example, we have 2 thesis statements here. Water consists of hydrogen and oxygen. Well, that might be a true statement, but it's not conducive to writing because it's a fact and you cannot really argue that fact. But if we say the water in our homes may contain harmful chemicals, now we're sort of guiding our reader, and the reader knows, okay, we're going to be talking next about harmful chemicals. It's all about guiding your reader to what you want them to come to the conclusion of. For example, television, and these are simple statements, thesis statements, but it gives you the idea of how to guide someone. So television has a bad influence on children for 3 main reasons. Very clear that we're going to have now probably 3 paragraphs, one each reason for why it's a bad influence. The choice of food we eat during our New Year's festival in India is influenced by tradition and religion. We're going to talk about tradition and religion. So guide your reader once again. What is it you want to say? Introduction, you want to have an idea that kind of grabs the reader. Maybe it stands out, especially with a university application. You want something that's going to make you stand out because they receive thousands and thousands of applications and yours needs to come to the top, right? So what makes you special? Keep it simple. An intellectual says a simple thing in a hard way. An artist says a hard thing in a simple way. I like that idea. And genius might be the ability to say a profound thing in a very simple way. So you don't have to try to use big words to impress somebody. It doesn't have to be that way. Use simple things, but do it in a way that is not pretending to be someone you're not. Okay. So, introduction, we're going to have a general statement and your thesis, right? Then in the body, depending on how many paragraphs you have, topic, sentence, support for each paragraph. Conclusion, you're going to restate your thesis. Always a good idea. At the beginning, this is what I'm going to talk about. And at the end, this is what I've said. So it kind of sandwiches everything. Maybe a little summary of the main points and maybe a final comment about it. But you see this guy in the corner, he's running across the finish line. You're not really at the finish line yet. Once you've done your draft, right? You have many other tasks ahead. So when you're writing your draft, do you need to write in order? Introduction, body, conclusion? No, you don't have to write it in any order at the first draft. Some writers like to write the introduction, the conclusion. Some writers like to do the body first. So do whatever works for you. And when you're doing your first draft, don't edit it. Just, once again, it's another way to get your ideas on paper. Using transition words, very, very important because it helps guide, once again, your information, your reader to your information and to know what to expect, okay? Just some ideas of transitions and what they convey. If you're talking about chronology, something that's going in order, you're going to use before, next, after, meanwhile. You can go online and get all kinds of information about transition words and samples. So I'm not going to read each one, but just to give you an idea, especially on your conclusion, to signal your reader you're about to end. In conclusion, in summary, to sum up. All of those help the flow of your essay. Sample essay, just going to talk for a minute on this sample essay. So you can see in the introduction, the guiding sentence, the one that's going to tell the readers what's coming next, is the end sentence in this introduction. 2 of the most powerful superstitions are connected with evil eye and throwing water. So those are the 2 things that we're going to talk about. And the reason the sentence before that is highlighted is that's the sentence that is connected to the conclusion. These superstitions are about protecting against evil and bringing good luck. So in the conclusion, we're going to reword that. It sounds very similar, but it helps connect the paragraphs. So I don't think we have time to read through every single word. So I'm just going to mention that, okay, here we have the first paragraph talking about the evil eye, and it's going to give examples. Like, what is it? Then the second one, we're going to have throwing water and examples once again. And you can come back and read those later. So I think you'll have the PowerPoint. And conclusion. Certain superstitions have become rituals with the purpose of protecting and bringing good luck. So once again, it's tying it all together. Next, you're going to revise. You've all heard of that. This is a hard part because sometimes you think you're finished when you finish your first draft, but you're not. Check it for revision is just looking for the overall pictures. Did you provide enough support? Do you have irrelevant points that you need to take out? Have you used transition words? And then editing or proofreading. Look at your sentence. This is a little bit now more micro look. Your sentence level, your expressions, your clarity. This is where you can check for spelling, punctuation, which is easy these days because it's all on the computer, right? But you still need to read each word and make sure. Read your essay out loud, maybe. That's a good idea. Or have a friend help you read your essay because you're so focused, you know what you want to say. It's a great idea to have a friend help you with that. This is a yawning squirrel. Are you awake? I want you to stay awake because the next part is about universities admission, okay? This is about the common application which most schools are using. And I used the commonapp.org to get some ideas about this. So it said that this is the most common essay prompt that people use. They had about 6 or 7 different essay prompts. But you can see, share an essay on any topic of your choice. It can be one you've already written or one that responds to a different prompt or one of your own design. This one is very broad in nature and allows you to kind of write whatever topic that you choose. And then the second most popular one is discuss an accomplishment, event, or realization that sparked a period of personal growth and new understanding for yourself or others. Okay. One of the things they're looking for is, once again, how do you stand out? And what about your growth? You of course need a good GPA, grade point average, in order to even apply, but you need to show in your essay how you've grown and what it is that's taken you to the point for applying for that particular university. Show that you learned something or that you were fundamentally changed by something. And you'll start by describing it and then the change itself and after the change. This part I like. These are the next few slides are ideas from advice from undergraduate admissions officers in various universities. This one is from Vanderbilt. And this says that the essay is one opportunity. Each student has to give unique insight into his or her innermost thoughts, aspirations, and dreams. It's to the student's advantage to let the admissions officers see beyond the test scores and the grades. Because you can easily see and go by test scores and grades, but they want to know who you are as a person, right? How that growth has changed you and brought you to where you are today. And the essay is the place to do that. They want to see honesty, integrity, commitment, ethical choices, perseverance, empathy, and leadership. Maybe not necessarily focus on each one of those, but bring out who you are. This is a director of undergraduate admissions at the University of Illinois, and they gave us 5 shared factors of successful applicants. Be prepared, number 1. And they're saying the same things. An outline, a draft, edit it multiple times. Be personal, tell your story. Be direct, choose your words wisely because you have a limited amount of words. Be focused, don't just repeat. I got an A in my English class. They want to see how your qualifications will benefit their university. and be professional. Submit the best possible essay, free of spelling, grammar errors, and things like that. Write something that you truly believe represents your unique voice. Yeah, something that demonstrates your competencies as a writer, displays your ability to be creative, critical thinker. They're looking for those kinds of things. To make unique contributions, they're looking to see what contribution you are going to make to their university and maybe to the world. I like the last paragraph here. Have fun with your essay. Exercise your sense of humor. Write about something you are passionate about, and write in a way you find inspiring. Yeah, all of those things. Put your soul into this essay if you're writing for undergraduate admission. A few tips. You don't have to make yourself perfect. Some people think, okay, if I make myself look really good, then they're going to admit me. Well, that may be true to a certain extent, but if you're not true to yourself, it's going to come through in that essay. These people who admit students have done this a long time, and they can spot somebody who is falsifying information or somebody who is just trying to make themselves look better. Just be you. You don't have to be absolutely a perfect person in order to get admitted. Honest, genuine. Give them reasons to select you. Share what makes you shine. And also follow directions. Very important, following any directions that they give you, because that seriously, not following directions can, your application will go in the pile of no select. Your tone should be fairly formal. Use correct grammar, be clear and concise. Your writing should be formal, but don't use verbose or flowery language. I'll give you one example. I had a student who asked me to look at her essay for university admission. And she started with something like, as a moth is drawn to a flame, I am drawn to your university. Well, that might be okay for creative writing class, but it is not okay for university admission. And so that's what I mean by know your audience a little bit. And you don't want to use anything that sounds so flowery. They're not looking for that, right? They want to know specifically about you and how you're going to thrive in their setting, in their university. Use punctuation, of course, but don't over punctuate. Not all capitals and not all exclamation marks and things like that. And begin early. This is a very, very important point. Begin very early. Okay, checking my time here. I think I'm okay. At this point, I'm not going to talk a lot about, and I think you know about this, you've heard it, avoid plagiarism. What's plagiarism? Using another person's words, images, or other original creations without giving proper credit. Taking someone else's work and presenting it as your own. Very, very important point. We don't want to do this if you're using someone else's words. It's either quotes or you're giving credit somewhere in the paper for their ideas and showing that this is where you got your ideas. And if you are not familiar with this, please look up this word plagiarism. It's very, very important because you can get in a lot of trouble for using someone else's words or their work without citing them. Here's a few sites that I left for you that have a lot of information. EnglishComposition.org. I like the owlpurdue.edu. This one is really good. And it has all, you can get lost in there. It's like a black hole. You click on one thing and it's interesting and click on something else, but there's a lot of information about writing and writing essays there. And then writing.commons.org is another one. So hopefully those will give you a little bit of information about writing. I'm leaving you with a quote. Writing is not life, but I think that sometimes it can be a way back to life. And this is by Stephen King. I don't know if you know Stephen King, but he is a very famous author. And I like this because I feel this way about writing sometimes. It's a way to get things out. And so even sometimes if you're upset about something, try writing. It helps. It helps get your thoughts and your ideas organized, and sometimes you have a clearer mind then about what you're thinking. Yeah? Okay. Questions answered here, even the silly ones. So I'm hoping that some of you might have a few questions for me. And we'll give Neelafar a minute to see if there are questions. I'm happy to answer any questions there might be.
Thank you very much, dear Linda, for interesting tips. I think this presentation was really great for everyone who is trying to learn writing essay, and especially for those who are trying to, go to university. There are some questions that I wanted to ask you, and I think that will be interesting for our audience as well. It's about reference in essays. Do we have to reference essay? If yes, how do we reference an essay? Some examples that you could give us.
Yes. So for example, it depends once again on what the purpose is of your essay, right? But if you are using someone's words directly, for example, the quote that I just showed you from Stephen King, you notice that I had his name there. This is an informal presentation, PowerPoint, but if you are doing a more formal essay, let's say, for example, for your thesis at the end of your degree or something, it's very important to use what we call footnotes at the end of the paper, or references at the back of the paper. And you're going to reference not only the author, but also where it came from, which work of the authors that it came from. And there's other information like the publishing date and things like that that you can get and put into your paper, so that someone who is looking for that reference or might want to go back and read something from that author would be able to find it, and even the page number of where it is that came from. So very specifics. There's a lot of information, once again, that you can find from one of those sites that I put up to help you with that and with how references are done. There's some very specific rules and things. But also, even within your paper, you can use quotation marks as stated by this author, such and such, to give credit to the original author.
See, thank you very much. Another thing, so since we work at the American Space, there are a lot of people who come to us with their essays, and we see that they start their essay with quotation. Is it okay to start, or do you think it's better to just start your intro with your own words? Because it's really popular here to start with quotes.
Well, that's a good question. And once again, I go back to think about your purpose and what it is you're writing for. If you're writing for a class and you're trying to make an impression, obviously, with using a quote from someone else to start your paper, it may be okay in that circumstance, but I would probably not prefer to use that if it's a university application. I think they're looking more for your own ideas. And so I don't think starting with a quote would be my preferred way to do it. Although I have to say that these days things have changed a lot and people are more open to using different forms and different ways of expression. So I wouldn't 100% say no, but personally, on something like that, I don't think I would start with a quote. In fact, I probably would not use a quote in a university essay. It should be more like, what is your personal background and what's coming from you.
Yeah, that's definitely a great thing to say. Thank you so much, Linda. And talking about university essays, is there a difference between writing an essay for like undergraduate application or for master's? In my opinion, maybe master's application required to have more academic essay, and undergraduate can be a little bit creative. What do you think about that?
Well, definitely, I think there's a difference, but there's some commonalities. So for example, they definitely can both be creative. I think you need to be creative in that particular idea of applying for a university, because there has to be some way for you to stand out from other people. I'll give you one example. Because currently I'm reviewing Fulbright applications, people who are applying to be a teaching assistant in Central Asia. And so I had 45 applications to review. And this takes some time, and 45, sometimes you start to see like they melt together. So you're looking for something that's really standing out. A lot of them have experience with writing about, I was an English language teacher, I did this, I did that, I traveled. A lot of them have the same kind of pattern. There was one that stood out to me, and I put him on the top of the pile. Because, why? Because he wrote about, he is a mountain climber and a hiker, and he wrote about his experience mountain climbing and leading groups climbing mountains, and he connected it to the idea of becoming a teaching assistant in Central Asia, and how he would connect the two, and how those particular skills led him to leadership and to team building and to working with others. And so it was a great way to introduce his background and what made him special, but yet made him a great candidate for becoming a teaching assistant. So it's not always the mechanics and this, you know, I can do this and I can do that, but what makes you shine? What are you going to bring?
I see. Thank you. And here is another question in the comment section by Abdul Mubin Rahmonov. He's asking, can we ask a question in the middle of essay or only first, like in the beginning of essay, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, that's a tricky one also. I personally probably in an application like that would probably avoid asking too many questions. You might be able to get away with one as long as it's pertinent to, you know, what you're talking about and it brings things together. But be careful. I've seen essays where there are too many questions, and just like I was saying, don't do too much of anything. Don't have too much punctuation, and because it's going to take away from the substance of your essay. So I would say maybe it's okay to have one as long as it's connecting your ideas, but not more than that.
Thank you. Thank you for your questions, Abdul Mubin. And last question is about the length of essay. You had the structure in your presentation and it had, if I'm not mistaken, 3 paragraphs. So what is like maximum amount of paragraph that you would advise to have in an essay?
So whatever it is you're writing for, what are the rules? That's the first thing you need to look at. And for the university application, I think it's something mostly like 650 words or something like that. So you need to have your essay match whatever it is that you're writing for. Number one, the rules. We oftentimes talk as an introduction to writing of the 5-paragraph essay. So the introduction, 3 body paragraphs, and a conclusion. The one that I showed you actually had 4 paragraphs. It had an introduction, 2 paragraphs, and a conclusion, partly because I didn't want to spend all of the time on looking at a big, long essay. there's no right or wrong and no hard fast rule, because it once again depends on what you're writing for.
Mhm. Great. Thank you very much, dear Linda, for this great presentation again and answering our questions. We don't have any questions because I think it was like really useful to have this presentation and then to listen to your replies. And if you have anything to say in the end to our audience, please, you may do so before we wrap up this session. Please, Linda.
Thank you so much. I first of all want to thank everyone for inviting me to have this little chat. And I would like to encourage all of you to keep writing. That's the way to get better, is to keep writing and write and write and write, just the same as speaking. You know, people ask for tips of how can I improve my speaking. Well, one of the best ways is to just keep trying and keep doing it and find a partner to speak with. But writing, the same thing. Keep writing, because the more you write, you're going to get better and better and better at it. And so go, my friends in Tajikistan. I'm very happy that you are here and trying to improve your writing, and I wish you success.
Thank you so much again for this session, and thank you everyone for watching and for asking questions. This was another session of International Education Week in Tajikistan related to essay writing tips. And again, one more time, I want to remind you that if you want to watch other sessions that we had before, you can check US Embassy Dushanbe's YouTube channel, or just check American Space Dushanbe Facebook page, because we saved all the videos here. If you have more questions about sessions that we had, please feel free to contact us, US Embassy Public Affairs section or American consuls, related to questions that you have. And thank you so much for joining. We have another session coming up soon at 6 p.m. So see you there. Thank you everyone, and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.